Hello, welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host, Anne, and Disembodied Hands, Justin, and I don't know, has Quindy emerged? Like, do you guys know? Has anybody seen a Quindy? Has there been a Quindy sighting? Good morning. Morning, everybody. Yes, it's good to be back. Hello to everyone who I saw at ReaperCon. Yay, we're back. And look, my shelf is look, it's being filled with art books now. Like, now it's getting too cluttered though. The problem is the hobby room is like still a work in progress. All my crap is sitting in my office. Hello, Bob and Julie. We missed you so much. Hello, Roosterfish. You're new. Welcome. I'm Anne. What? 26 months? Trash, were you at the show? Did you stop and say hi to me? Did I miss you? Like, I don't know. Anyway. Yeah, Scrying. This is the new digs, right? Right? So we got interrupted. We were in our new house like 1 week before we had to go to ReaperCon for 6 days. So it kind of disrupted, right? Got kind of disrupted. But as you can see, my studio is more or less in. It's just like a little bit. No Quindy reports. Okay, fingers crossed she's okay. Okay. Yeah, I know I've got a nice background and I've got a little baby owl bear and I need to put up a couple more statues. I actually have Sylvanas, the big Sylvanas statue. Even though I'm an Alliance player, I still have a Sylvanas statue because she was too cool. And I'm not an Illidan fan. That was the other one they had. And they put out Jaina, but like I'm like, she's kind of a witch. I don't like Jaina. So until they put out like in Greymane, I'm done. I'll just stick with my Sylvanas. Yeah, I know, Ulfin. I was like, he was there. Okay. Yeah. See, and I was like on the side of like Bobby. I was like 2 or 3 people down. I think you were, Bobby and then Andy and then me. So, and running around saying hello to everybody, right? Because getting pounced every 10 steps really is what it's all about when you're at ReaperCon, which is the awesome part, right? But yes. yes. Thank you, December. Yes, we're here. And yeah, so new office and I've been working, man, I unpacked so much yesterday. I was just like, like that. This morning, the struggle has been trying to get because we're going to Hawaii. So the struggle has been trying to get my vaccination card uploaded to Hawaii's system so you don't have to quarantine. And it's a bear. It's a total bear. I am not having a fun time with that. So Wyvern, all we need to do is block in the rock. Block in the rock. Look, Wyvern, I backed out, so we're a little farther away with Wyvern today, so you guys can see him a little better. Let's see here. Let's actually I wonder if I can get a nice in focus. Yeah, there we go. The problem with Wyvern is there's a lot of him at various depths, so it's hard to see all of him in focus at the same time. Yeah, we're going to Hawaii. We planned that ages ago because I had points I had to spend with my bonus, my travel program, and they would have expired. So I like set it as far forward as I could, but we totally forgot ReaperCon. So it's like, and in 3 weeks we leave for Hawaii. I'm going to be like absentee Anne for another whole week. We're going to the Big Island this time, Ulfin. I love Honolulu personally. Oahu is my favorite island, but we wanted to do something a little different because both David and I were in Honolulu like the year before COVID. So we're going to the Big Island, and I'm like excited to honestly, let's just hike and hang out on beaches and snorkel and eat food and paint minis in the evening. Like that's my vacation. That's my ideal vacation. Oh, good, Trash. Congrats on the bronze. Fantastic. Yeah, I was so happy to see so many entries, considering. Oh, sure. No problem. I wish I would have had time to talk to more people. The problem is there's like 60 zillion people and like your time to talk to them is just not enough. Plus my voice was dying. Yes, next year I need to like do it figure out a little bit of a better way to do it. Like I need to hit the vendor hall earlier so that I can get, back to my station earlier so I can have more time to talk to people, And I probably need to like figure out like how many minutes I can spend with people and just kind of keep an eye on it so I don't get sucked in, you know, and talking to somebody for 20 minutes while there are people waiting and things like that. I was very popular. Yes, I was. You know, this stream, like, I'm more popular than I've ever been. Oh, good. I'm glad you had a great time, though, Emladrisil. Oh, yeah, Evelina. The Mouseling trophy is so cute. So cute. So, yeah, watch out. People are gunning for that Mouseling next year. Like, people are, like a bunch of painters are like, I want a Mouseling trophy. It's too cute. For those of you who haven't seen it, it's, like, it's big. It's, like, you know, maybe about this big. And it's, like, you know the Napoleon portrait with him up on his rearing horse? Like, the classic Napoleon. Or, I think it's Napoleon. Well, it's a Mouseling. It's a Mouseling Napoleon on a chibi horse. A chibi pony. And so, like, you've got to go for it. Like, just paint up a Mouseling all as well as you can. And go for it because they're so cute and that trophy is like immensely adorable and more people need to paint Mouselings so that they can win it. Oh, very good. Very good. 2 silvers. Excellent. Yeah, the problem is, Ulfin, is like you're doing a lot of painters do a lot of classes. Like, you know, they'll even, some of them were even doing 6. So that means 2 days of the con. Usually it's like Friday and Saturday. They have 2 classes and they're gone, you know, and then they're doing lunch, you know, so it's really hard. I spent a fair amount of time at MySpace. I finished the Wyvern, but not the base. Yes, you need one in every color. Oh, no problem, Muses. All right, so we're going to just throw some paint at this. Now, my paint is still in the bag from the con. See, we have not graduated from Ziploc bags. It's still the best organizational system. First month without a Mouseling planned, huh? Well, we have to solve that problem. I think I'm going to use Osirian Sand, and I think actually somebody ran off with my Desert Stone at the con. It's terrible, isn't it? And all my paint is way too far away. Paint, come here. My wheelie cart is like off in the distance here because I moved it out of the way to load up my bookshelf. But luckily it's a rolly cart, so it's really easy to grab. So if you want to make a really good Desert Stone color and you don't own Desert Stone, the way to do it is to mix a good medium gray, like Cloudy, with a nice, kind of a dark tan color or a medium tan color. And if you want a lighter sand, add some like off-white, like bleached linen, or in my case, I'm going to go up with Osirian because I want a little bit more of a yellow sand, and also because I used Osirian on this guy. Oh yeah. Morning, Val. Yes, yes, Darth Abacus is still hungover. Yeah, no problem. Hey, Major Mistra, like, honestly, like, that's why I do ReaperCon. Like, I want to teach and connect with you guys and, like, give you advice and show you stuff and, you know, give you feedback and all that. It's all that. Like, I live to teach. So every year I think about not teaching because I'm like, I could have more time to just interact with people and to get things, you know, not to have so much on my plate. Because if you guys saw me Saturday, I was constantly, because leading up to the painting competition ceremony, there's still morning judging to do. And then there's like all of the logistics stuff with the award ceremony that I'm talking with Kit and Debbie and Mengu about. So it's like, my Saturday is like all occupied. So it's a Rubicon. It's a wild Rubicon. Poof, a wild Rubicon appears. But yes, yes, yes. So yeah, if you want to make a nice, I kind of want a kind of a sandy, I think, color for this. So instead of gray. And we could, okay, so here's the dealio. Like, when you choose colors for basing, you can play off of the colors on the miniature. And sometimes you want to actually mix in colors on the miniature so that it looks like the miniature belongs on the base. And that's a French thing, actually. Jeremy Bonamont told me that. And I do it now from time to time. I would say most of my models, I at least repeat at least one color from the figure on the base. He does all of them. But here, what we'll do is, let me get, oh no, my Kraken ink. Haha. as Anne sorts through all of her crap to find the colors that she needs. Well, I may as well just get out Black Indigo and Death Knight Black, because we all know that those colors. And if somebody stole my Kraken ink, I'm going to be so sad. Oh, okay, there we go. Whew, I'm safe. I thought I was scared there. Is it Star Trek Day? Good. That's the thing you need to do, right? You need to leave the con inspired. Like that's what cons like ReaperCon do best. Is that if you're in a slump or if you're kind of tired of, and you haven't been into it, going to a convention like ReaperCon, where it's very mini-centric. Adepticon does the same thing for me because it's so miniatures-based. Even if a lot of it's gaming, they still have an awesome vendor hall, and they have they've got competitions going on and stuff like that. But it always like gets you. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just like I chat. Chat distracted. Squirrel. Squirrel. Squirrels ate our tomatoes, by the way, while we were gone. But anyway, back to this. But yeah, so that's the main, like, it's really a good thing. And even just tuning into the online streaming for ReaperCon can get you excited, but being there in person is like, you get totally back into it. I spent way too much money in the vendor hall on Sunday morning. I was not planning. I was planning to go get some chibis, because after judging the Chibi Awards, I was like, I have to paint these things. So I bought 4 chibis. Oh dear. Oh wow. Oh, Saib hitting me with the happy double sub-anniversary, double sub-anniversary, double sub-anniversary, happy double sub-anniversary. Hey, and my voice was good enough to do it without cracking. Everybody, round of applause. Round of applause for Saib for 2 years. Grats. Leave all my money in the vendor hall. Yeah. Well, the vendors, I'll tell you guys though, the vendors said in general, I heard from vendors that they did really well. And that's great, because when vendors do really well, they talk to other vendors, and then we get even more awesome people in our hall, and you guys get more opportunities to buy fantastic stuff in person. So yeah. Oh, we have a wild D Clearman as well. Crazy talk here this morning. Mr. D Clearman with the gold medal at ReaperCon, by the way, all. So we'll give him a round of applause too. I'm gonna shout it out. All right, I'm gonna mix up some paint while I gab with you guys about the con. But yeah, I judged a lot of them, and judging a lot of them, lets me see kind of what the top level people are doing with them. And I was just thinking, I did Monique, but for you guys, but she was a little bit, I used a couple of kind of quickie techniques on her. And I was thinking, I should try this, and I should try to paint it to the absolute top of my ability. Like, take a chibi and just go for it. Like, as tight as I can make it, right? As good as I can make it. Because they're so deceptively simple, but there are tricks to them. I'm going to put 3 drops of Cloudy Gray. I was just saying, if you want a good desert landscaping or a dry, arid landscaping color, mix like Cloudy Gray and Leather Brown. And you can tweak it. If you want it more gray, you can use more cloudy. And if you want it more brownish, you can use more leather. And then highlight with the off-white or white of your choice. Oh, yeah. It looks effortless when you're at it in Littersill, but Reaper works their butts off to get it to look that effortless, right? And so much work goes into the con beforehand. Like immense amounts of work. Yeah, I gotta say, like, I really like, a lot of people like the Soda Pop better, but I like the, or Ninja Division, I guess they are now. But I like the Midnight Heroes stuff a lot. I liked their little adventures. I bought their Cleric and their Pirate. And I couldn't resist the little elf girl with the chibi unicorn. I had to, yeah, that's gonna be pink. It's so gonna be pink. It's on. Pink and rainbows. Oh, funny. Oh, yeah. Super Hyper Bunny, yeah. Yeah, we had a lot of people who like inched over into silver this year too from bronze, which I really enjoy. Like my advice to you is to go and hit it even harder for next year. Oh, and I also, speaking of practice, I was reading about deliberate practice because I'm reading a book by a scientist who I like called Angela Duckworth, and she wrote a book called Grit, which pretty much her thing is talent is earned. Talent equals hard work. Like, you can't just have talent. Hard work can exceed the capability of talent. Like, talent that is left on the ground will not do anything, but, you know, hard work can exceed, you know, you build talent is the point, right? And part of it is deliberate practice, is sitting down. This is what I tell you guys, is if you only had 20 minutes a night to paint miniatures, but when you sat down, you paid attention, like you were like, you know, I'm gonna really work on my paint consistency this time, and then I'm gonna really work on getting this cape really good this time. Like, you would make more progress than if you had 8 hours a day and you just kind of, you know, goofed around and painted your gaming minis. Like, focused effort really is it. But I was just reading something from another scientist on it, and essentially they said the same thing. They're like, if you have like too many people go into it thinking that more is better, but actually, like, just like an hour a day of focused practice, like, is better than 10 hours a day. So if you want to get better at painting, you don't need a lot of extra time. You just need to really, when you are using that time, you need to, like, be trying, right? You need to be in try mode. Ah, Ghoulskin is next on a miniature base. Nice, Lord Nobody. Yeah, Zenbacon, I'm glad you had fun. Yeah, I didn't like, they had such craptastic plastic for that first, I forget what the thing was they did, but the Simon one, I was just like, Relic Knights. I was so disappointed because the sculpts and concepts were so good and the plastic was suck. So I just, you lost me. Sorry. So, yeah. Yeah, I think it's skill. It's like, yeah, it's like when people say talent, I kind of wince. Like, I like to think, like, there are natural aptitudes, right? Like, and maybe those are even work, right? You develop them when you're a kid. Like, when I was a kid, I was drawing all the time. And I totally think that led to me looking like I was talented because I wanted to draw better. Even at 5 years old, I was trying to figure out how to draw tigers, right? So, but even if you accept that talent and natural aptitude are a thing, it just gives you a step up on the ladder, right? It puts you maybe a rung or two ahead. But if you don't use it right, then the person who works hard is going to, like, pass you. Like, it is Smallish Sam, though. You are absolutely correct. It's all the same. Like, music and the arts and writing, like, all the same. Like, I'm a writer, too, as you guys know, and it's the same dang thing. It's just practice. It's how much you practice with an eye toward getting better. Good, Untamed Painter. Yeah, that's good. And study, too. Study other people's NMM. Like one thing that might be useful to you, actually, Untamed Painter, is if there's an example online of a model that has really nice NMM, and it's a model that you can get, like, still order it. Save really good, find a model that has really good photos that you can kind of nick off the internet or save the link to, and use that. Like, use it as a paint along. Try to paint yours exactly like them with the highlights in that place and the shadows in that place, and kind of think about why it's there, right? That can help a lot. Right, exactly, Carrie Michael. Yeah. I always come in, Carrie Michael, I always, when they say talented, I'm always like, actually, I worked my butt off, you know, or when, you know, and people said that about Christy Van Patten, you know, and it's like, every time somebody at the con said, oh my God, she's so talented, I'm like, Christine worked her butt off to get to this point. I watched her do it, right? She really worked at it. So I don't, like, tell them that she wasn't talented. She may well have had a natural artistic aptitude, but she also worked hard to get where she is. She regularly puts in 10, 11-hour days as a sculptor. Regularly. She told me at the con. It's just like, it's what she does. Yeah. Yeah, to paint good NMM, you have to paint bad NMM a bunch of times. And it's never a fail, guys. Never ever think of it as a fail. Like, if you want to practice NMM, and you know you're going to probably screw it up and you're going to want to repaint it, use, like, a cheapo bones model. I like the orc with the breastplate that's kind of layered and the two-handed sword over his head. I like that orc for NMM. The breastplate, especially when you're working on rounded surfaces. I mean, that's such a chunky figure. You could paint it over, like, a dozen times before you started to lose detail. So that's a good one. But like, get a cheapo bones model, practice on those just in case you have to paint it over and over and over and over and over. That way, then when you finally nail it, you can transition to a model you really like. Ah! Oh, yeah, David's Pathfinder Goblin. He returned, he had mine at the show, actually, that I painted in his class. I returned him to the shelf, his place of honor on the shelf. I don't know if that's the one. Is it like an orc with kind of a breastplate that comes down like there, and a big orc and a big curved blade going back over his head? If that's in the LTPK, then awesome. Hello, Julia. How's it going? Let me get my glasses on. We're gonna get some Wyvern going on here. Since this base isn't gonna take very long, I think this is pretty good. And after this, I believe we're going to transition to an ogre, right, guys? We're going to do this big ogre guy. And you guys wanted to do him in a traditional brown, yellow-brown skin, kind of golden-brown skin color. I really like this guy. He's fantastic. So I need to clean up the model. It's one of them. Yeah. Yeah, really, it's like... There we go. Put that back up there. All right, we've got our colors. I'm going to mix up that deserty color. And then I'm going to mix a little bit of my deserty color into both of these and see if I need to adjust it to make it look right. But the Kraken ink, as you know, is the purple on Mr. Wyvern, and the Osirian sand is the kind of yellow or pale color that we use to highlight all of the Wyvern. So we are using... I'm going to do 2, 1. So this is about a 3 to 1. And these guys are about a 4 to 1. We'll see how that goes. Oh, good muses. Yeah, David knows how to teach light. And he's had a lot of experience being an instructor in general. So I'm going to use my big crappy brush for this one. Since we're putting, we're blocking and base coating. So I'm going to use kind of my not so good sable. Having a not so good sable around is actually kind of cool. Like, I don't like using synthetics. But not so good sables can still hold a good enough point that you can still hit detail with them. But you can also just smash them and not feel too bad about it. So this is a not so good sable. And the fact that it's a watercolor sable, it's probably a grade 4 or grade 3. I don't know. It's not as good. Since it's professional, it's probably like not a terrible grade. But it's not a Kolinsky. You can see there's no Kolinsky on the barrel. So do I have my... Yeah, okay. So now they've gone to finest sable instead of Kolinsky. So Series 7 is the Kolinsky sable brand. Finest sable is analogous with Kolinsky, as Kolinsky is the finest grade of red sable. So some people will put Kolinsky directly on the barrel, but Winsor & Newton thinks that they need to be different, so they're just going to tell you it's the finest sable, as opposed to just a watercolor sable. So this is going to be a mid-grade sable. Oh, it is super, super fun, Untamed Painter. Super, super fun. Oh, Julia, I was there. I taught early on Friday. Then I had to get some lunch. And then, I don't remember. Like, I was there for a while. I tried to be at my station for at least an hour and a half to 2 hours a day. More on Saturday, I think. So that's the color that makes. And I think we need a little more brown. So that's a very, like, kind of grayed out desert brown. So let's put a couple more drops of leather in it, which will also raise us up to a 4 to 1 paint to water ratio, which is good for base coating. There we go. So there's that. I'm going to actually put a brush full of that into this. And I want these paints to be a little stronger, like a 4 to 1 paint to water, because I'm going to do some wet blending and blocking in. So I want it strong. Now we're going to see if this is going to work, or if I'm going to switch over to like a walnut, or add a little walnut in. Yeah, if you're into miniatures and ReaperCon is your thing. You just don't know it yet. You've got to get there. So I'm going to take a brush full of this and move that over here. That's going to gray out our Kraken ink a little bit, and I think I'm going to add... just a bit more, actually. I'm going to add a drop of Drop of leather and a drop of gray. Because I don't want a really strong purple shadow, but I still want the purple to be there. So, just like building any triad, adding a little bit of your midtone into your shadow and your highlight can work very well for you. Yeah, I think I'm going to add just one more drop of the leather. Since leather brown is a very yellowy brown and this has a lot of purple in it, adding more yellow is going to mute the purple and make it less bright. So it'll make it more natural looking. Yeah, I mean, it really is a fun con. It just really is. Everybody hanging out, working on their stuff. Secret, I went to the vendor hall on Sunday partially because I just wanted chibis and partially because often they will have sales on Sunday if they don't want to transport their stuff. So I'm afraid that I went a little crazy. I have like 3 new busts and it's just crazy talk. Let me see. Hold on. I'm a little bit cockeyed here. All right. That's a little better. All right. Let's zoom in. Now you guys have seen my colors. And for the most part, I'm going to start with my base color and I'm going to assess once I get it on. Yeah, that's nice and warm. Good. I wanted it to be a warmer base color to match kind of the warm tones of the Wyvern. And there are 2 schools of thoughts. Oh, good, good. The Reaper store was not fun for your wallet. Yeah, well, neither were like all the places I went. Mostly I bought stuff at the Scale 75 booth and the Midnight Heroes booth with the chibis. And I bought some Bombshell. And I bought stuff from Jacob Jansen. Look at my new mini holder. Isn't it pretty? It's wood and resin. And it's got, what I really like about these is if you test them, they're quite heavy. So I can put a fragile model on this and not worry about it falling over. So I bought a lot of his plinths too. Because I can always use plinths to put pretty minis on. Yeah, I bought it. I went in. Yeah, they're beautiful. And he has them in all different colors. So, and he's trying to make this his full-time job. So when a community member decides to go whole hog into miniatures, that's what we get. So Jacob is Jacob Jansen Studios on Etsy and Facebook. So go visit. Go visit. You can find him on the Etsys. Man, I'm ordering more stuff off of Etsy lately than I ever thought I would. But I've had such a good experience on there in general. I also got, because I was just feeling my ReaperCon-ness before we even left, I had also ordered a couple of busts off of Etsy, 3D prints. So I have entirely too much to paint. And I will be doing a lot of painting. The hobby room is almost set. Like, I ordered my new desk and everything, so I'm super happy. All right, so start by blocking in just a base coat, because when you go back in to shade and highlight on bones, it's always nice to have that starting base coat that works really well. And as you can see, my paint is going on well at a 4:1. 5:1 might be a little bit better if you didn't wash your minis or you didn't prime and didn't wash your minis. The less prep you do on bones, the more the thicker you're gonna have to use your paint. Start kind of working this up a little bit. So like there's a couple places on this base, probably because I've been handling it so much, that are like resisting the paint just a tad, but like just a tiny bit. So I could go a little bit thicker and I'd be just fine there. I also put a lot of paint on for my first base coat in general. You can see I'm kind of slobbering it on. I haven't, Daybreak, huh? I just bought so much, I just cannot. I cannot even. Like, guys, seriously, like, I bought this fire elemental. Like, I can't do anything else. Like, I have immense busts to paint now. The fire elemental has a phoenix. I like those, I really like those elementals that they put out, that Chimera put out in that series. All right, so we've got a nice column. And does this, now we have to back out and ask ourselves, does this look good with our Wyvern? The answer is yeah, because it's a neutral, right? We picked a nice neutral. He's a little bit muted, right? He doesn't have any really bright colors on him. The orange looks bright, but it's actually a brownish orange. And the red is a brownish red, and the purple's dark, and the white is the Osirian sand is kind of muted. So there's Flow Improver already in Master Series Paint Shiver Moon, so you don't really actually have to add any. I add extra if I'm doing really, really fine detail. I'll just add like 1 drop in whatever. I'll just replace one of my drops of water with a drop of Flow Improver. So you really don't need to do it though. I mean, we work fine with water. And it depends on the flow aid you're using. Like a lot of flow aids need dilution. Reapers doesn't. Reapers, you can just use 1 drop in place of the water. So if you normally do like 4 drops of paint and 2 drops of water, just do 1 drop of fluid and 1 drop of water. But you don't want, I mean, but you make sure you're thinning it. Like if you're using like a Liquitex or Winsor Newton or some other flow improver, they usually say you should thin this at least 20-to-1. I find that 10-to-1 is a reasonable ratio, but then you just use 1 drop of that. But Master Series really doesn't need it unless you're, like I said, I use it. I will add an extra drop of flow aid or flow improver if I'm doing really fine detail, like really, really fine, where I need surface tension break, like super small freehand or fine detail. It may help you do eyeballs, things like that. But you don't want to, with any additive, you don't want to overdo it. Because remember, you're adding something that's not paint, which means that if you add too much of it, it's going to kind of impair various aspects of your paint. Flow Improver is the least problematic of those, in that, if you over add it, it probably won't do much except over thin your paint, but you still don't want to add a crap ton. Does that make sense? Things like anti-shine additive, you've got to add a tiny bit. Zen, I put them all away. Like, I'll put them all in a nice box. I'll pick out 1 or 2. But I really need to, like, I'm paring down I'm making them fight for my love. Like, the great thing is just spread them out in a big fan in front of you. Pick each one up and see if it really gets you excited. And if it doesn't, put it away in a box. And then do that with all of the minis until you are down to, like, maybe 2 or 3. And those are the minis that, like, you're super excited about. And those are the ones you should paint. Make them fight for your love. It's like dice, right? You get your dice out and you roll them. You make them fight for your love. If they roll a 20, maybe you keep them. That kind of thing. Rolling a 20 on minis is the mini, like, you can't wait to paint it. Like, instantly you know what colors you want to do, or you're excited by certain aspects of the mini, do that. And then put the rest out of sight, because it is easy to get like total paralysis, right? Like, decision paralysis is a thing, so make your decision and just progress. So once again, putting a base coat on all of this to make sure there's a nice solid base coat on all the bones material before I start blocking in shadows and highlights. Keep all that. Well, you keep them all, but you don't roll all of them, Hyper Bunny. Some of them have to earn their spot for a particular gaming session. I make my dice fight. They go in the gladiatorial arena, and if they roll a 1, they're out, man. Or you could use the school of, if it rolled a 1, then it got the 1 out of the way, and it's going to roll 20s for the rest of the night. Whatever your philosophy, whatever your dice religion beliefs are, go just have a system and go with it. Unless, of course, you're a god, you worship the god of chaos, in which case, well, roll them randomly and pick the best or worst ones, as you wish. Oh, don't do it, Zeku. Don't do it. There is no hold off till you're a better painter. You'll never paint it. There is never a perfect time. Oh, I missed a mold line. I'm going to get that real quick. So this is a thing. This is a real thing that people run into, this resistance that says, I'm not good enough for this. But in reality, Zeku, think the other way. Flip it on its head and say, if I try to paint this now, it might not come out as great as it is in my imagination, but I'm going to learn a crap ton. And I'm probably going to... Those are the models that you level up on. The model where you're like, I don't quite know how to do this yet, but I can imagine it. Go for it. Just go for it. All you need is that concept. It's going to teach you so much. And it's acrylics. Like, if you mess up part of it, you can paint over it. You know, it's like, it's especially if you're on a Patreon where you have a Discord where you can get feedback. Like, give it a try and then take feedback, right? And in the end, you'll have actually, like, you'll have a decent paint job, chances are. I have a little bit of blue tack that is clinging also. We'll have to fix that. I just have a little bit of mold vent point, I should say. There. Get that off of there. Get the little threads off. Good. And I need to actually take him off, because the best way to take blue tack off of your model when you've got that little blue tack sticking there is to use more blue tack. There. And I'm going to actually make sure I get all the rims. So this is the point where I can take the Wyvern off. And I think I have... Dang it, I had soft. Hold on. I had to get bubble wrap. Get a bubble wrap to hold the Wyvern. And, oh. There we go. Perfect. I knew I had a bunch of soft bubble wrap that I found. And I've got these beautiful squares of super soft bubble wrap. This is the bubble wrap you want to use to hold your mini. It's not stiff at all. You could, like, ball it up. It's so soft. Soft bubble wrap. It's a good bed for a Wyvern. I decided, Sacrifice, that I didn't want to do a boring Wyvern. I'm sick of boring Wyverns. So I decided to go reddish brown or brownish red, just like they're supposed to be, but to make it really cool patterns, like to go to the orange on the wings. But yeah, I still went reddish brown, but I threw in some purple and did all this kind of stuff. It is a Wyvern though. Good, Rapster. Yeah, I mean, those are really the mini. The mini that you kind of go, oh, I don't know, is the mini that's probably going to teach you the most. And, you know, it's an opportunity to learn something, right? If you're veering off, kind of figure out why you're thinking that. Like, oh, there's a lot of detail, or, oh, there's, like, a lot of skin. I'm going to have to learn to blend better, right? Well, that's your opportunity to learn to blend better. It's sitting right there staring at you, so... Just go for it. Just go for it. Especially, I hate to say this, but especially if you can get another copy of the model, like if it's not limited edition, then it's even easier. Because if you really screw it up, keep that one, wait for a year while you get better, and then paint another one. Or if it's like something big, like a bust, where you really don't want to do another one, paint something similar. And then you have both of them to show you how you've improved. Sacrifice. Yeah, but it's a different ball game out there now, and there's so much video content, Sacrifice, well, just like this stream and a lot of others, to help you along. Like, I love to answer questions, so if you run into a problem, just ask. And, you know, like, people at Patreons, like I do, patreon.com/paintingbig is mine, where we do a bunch of tutorials on different stuff. I'm actually just starting up. Like, I'm going to kind of revisit some stuff for new painters that I felt like I could cover better or in a different way to help. I have a lot of people on my Patreon who are kind of new, or like you, they're coming back to the hobby after years away, and they're essentially new. Like, it's so many different products and so much, the hobby has evolved so much in the last 15 years. Even more so if you've been away longer. There, I think I've got a solid coat. And you know what? If you miss a spot, you can always get it later. Sometimes down in the cracks is where it doesn't like to stick if you've got bones, like pure bones, not bones black or anything. And if so, just use a lot thicker paint. I would just like get like almost like a pure, mix 2 drops of this and get it straight up, and then it would stick. But in general, I think this is sticking quite well with my usual wash the bones protocol. Oh, nice. Yeah, well, then she can even help you out if she's, like, you know, a little bit better. I delivered 6 Pendrake at the con. I gave him Living Statue, Genie, Dark Dwarf Smiter, Grumpy Cat, Juliana, and Monique, the chibi. I gave him all of those. A lot of us brought stuff to the con for Ron. It's just so handy. And I also delivered 5 models to Dark Sword because Andy came to get them for Jim since Jim couldn't make it. Yeah. Yeah, Grumpy Cat, I painted a cat person and kind of, she ended up with Lynx markings, and she was a rogue, and she just, from a certain angle, she was really scowling, and she looks like Grumpy Cat. So that was her code name on the stream. All right, so now I'm going to take this purple. I'm going to start blocking in some shadows. I'm going to shade a lot of the top here by the paws, because the wings here are going to be casting a pretty sizable shadow. So if I put it up here, you see how dark the feet get, and then this crack and that crack. So we'll start blocking in, and it's okay to start blocking in shadows while I still have wet base coat, because it's just going to blend them in a little better. So it's going to make them not as dark, but it's going to blend them in. So I can get a little bit of extra blending mileage out of the fact that my base coat has not completely dried, as long as I don't strip up paint. But it's dry enough at this point. Yeah, she turned out pretty well. I mean, Ron's happy to have her, so. It's more models than he got from me when I was actually working at Reaper, that's for sure. Like, I would maybe paint 1 model every 6 months for Reaper when I was working the paint department, because the paint department just was a higher priority and I didn't have time to paint. All right, I'm going to take my light color. This is kind of a test. I'm using this rock as the test because it looks very purple still. I'm not sure I like that, so I'm going to block it in with the purple shadows. And then I'm going to highlight with yellow. And what this does is it tends to mute out that purple and make it look less purple, more grayish. You can also like layer in more of your base color over the top to kind of encourage that, the loss of the purpley look. See, now it looks more grayed out. But when you put a complement, sometimes you can do that if you layer a complement over each other. Just like when you mix them, they tend to like modify each other, mute each other a little bit. So we'll see if I can get this to work. I don't want a really purple shadow. I just wanted to kind of echo the colors that I used on the Wyverns. So, and since this is a shadow, I'm painting the undersides and the insides. So the insides of the cracks and kind of the underside of details. Those are where your shadows go. So if you are a just starting painter and you're like, where do I put shadows? It really is. It's on under things and inside of cracks and folds. Yeah, I know. Like when I wash my bones, I almost never have to fight, right, Hyper? It's like washing like really does help. But sometimes, yeah, resin will release. A lot of people on resin will use isopropyl to clean the resin to take off any mold release. They'll just brush it over the surface or soak, give it a very brief soak. It's not something I've ever had to do because I find at least using a solvent-based primer that tends to cut through it, but not always. So now we've got that shade of rock. So I'm going to do this side, and we're going to see if we like it. And if we like it, then we're going to do the lady's head here. Yeah, it's all illusion. It's all illusion sacrifice. It's creating that illusion. It's learning enough about physics. And I'm going to thin my my highlight color actually quite a bit, guys, because I just realized that's probably too strong. And I think I'm going to mix a 50-50 mix, too, between this and this. Because I think this is really strong, and I want it to go up a little bit gradually. So I'm going to grab this color and do that. Yeah, seeing the models that I do on the show in person does make a big difference. They look a lot different because you guys get to see them so big all the time, right? And when you realize how small everything is, you know, which you do when you see the models in person, you see how small some of the details are. It's like, oh, wow. I think probably like Grumpy Cat and Juliana are like that. And you also can see the rainbow smoke better on the genie in person. I'm going to actually switch to a smaller brush now. So since I'm no longer blocking in, and now I want to hit little rock formations and little stones, I don't want a brush that has kind of a questionable tip. I want to go for my brush that has a really good, reliable tip now. So I'm going to grab a Raphael. I'm going to grab my kind of beat up old Raphael. I'm trying to run this one out because I have a fresh new one that I've been using, and it's broken in now, so it's really good. But I kind of want to kill this one. Like, this is my old Raphael. It's really thinned down. But it's still useful, so I'm trying to use it until I can't use it no more. Yeah, there is Pendrick. This is a statue lying on her side. There's the face. There's her shoulder. Because Julie always does awesome, like, bases. Yeah. Yeah, I really like washing the bones, Hyper. It's like... It really works, and I feel like I don't have problems with paint adhering. And if I do, just thickening my paint a little fixes it. Like, it's just easy. So upper surfaces are going to get more of a highlight. Sagebrush, there's a couple ways to do that, but the one that I really like is I put like 1 drop of water in the wells around my paint, and then I just put saran wrap over it. However, if you're just leaving it alone for like an hour or two, Rhonda Bender has a great trick where you get a big sponge. You want one of the big ones that'll cover your palette. So a big sponge, and just wet that down, squeeze it out so it's damp, put that right over the top. The paint will stay in the wells, and the sponge will have just enough moisture in it to keep your paint good for hours. So you can do both. Like, I use a wet palette sometimes if I'm trying to do certain techniques. I think that there are definitely things that both types of palettes are good at. But when it comes to really thin paint applications, like when I'm doing textures or I want to nail an application for smooth blending where you have to thin your paint down a lot, or I'm doing glazes and I need the paint to be really, really thin, then this palette wins hands down, because if you try to do that on a wet palette, you're going to have to like mix every brush full of paint, and it's going to fight you. Like, the minute you put a lot of water and paint on a wet palette, or you see it wick down into the sponge, or you get your paint thinning down a lot because you've got a lot of water underneath it. Depends on the paper that you're using for your wet palette. I do use a wet palette from time to time if I have to paint fast. I find that for blocking in and fast painting, I do like it. But the palette that I have always used and gotten great, award-winning results with, I always use a well palette. I prefer this. I prefer being able to control my paint consistency for exactly what I'm doing, whatever that technique is. So, my paint is drying very slowly today. I wonder if we've got a little bit of humidity out here in the South Bay today. It's supposed to get warm. So I'm going to pick up edges and places where the stone is sticking out for that highlight. Yeah, I've painted with both types of palettes in all sorts of climates. Right now, I live in the South Bay area, which is actually quite warm and dry. I've painted in Arizona with both types of palettes. I've painted in Santa Fe in the high desert. So I painted in a lot of very dry areas. And I've painted in Florida, which is, of course, very wet. And I still like the well. Like, if it's a really dry climate, I find I just put more paint in the well so I can add more water. It's a deeper puddle then, and it's fine. Like, I might have to add water to it more often, but I already have kind of the habit of looking at my paint. And the minute you see it kind of drying into a little rim around your actual puddle, like as the side starts to dry, you'll see kind of a pucker. The paint won't be going up the sides of the well as much. That's when you add a drop of water, and you can keep your paint at the right consistency for hours. Yeah, I like it. I like the wet palette for if I'm blocking it, and I'm starting to go that way for starting projects. Like, that's where I'm trying to learn it, right? Because it's not intuitive to me to use the wet palette, but it is really good at fast blocking in wet blending base coats. And so I want to move that way like I did for Knoll. You guys will remember that I painted Noli like that. And it worked really well, and I got past a lot of the kind of the boring parts of painting, right? Base coating being the boring part. Where did I put that, by the way? Oh, there it is. So hold on, let me grab Noli as an example. Come here, Noli. Those of you who are at the show got to see Noli in person. And Templar. And Halfling. Everybody. Man, I've got all sorts of crap in here I need to get out. All right. But Noli is in here. I swear it. I swear it. I am still a little bit discombobulated after the con. You can totally tell. Sit. Stay. Where are you, Noli? There you are. So Noli was done with a wet palette. And actually all of her was done with a wet palette so far. And even the fine fur blending, the fine fur texture, I did on the wet palette. And the difference is, the reason that works a little bit better on the wet palette than it would, like, if I was trying to do smooth blending, then it would be very difficult. But because I want the fur to show up, the fur texture to show up, having the paint be a little thicker is not bad, because then when I get fur artifacts, like I get these little fur lines, that's exactly what I want. I want that fine line. So I was able to thin the paint enough to get that fine line for the fur texture, but I couldn't have gotten a really, really smooth blend unless I worked really hard, but I don't want a really smooth blend. I want fur. So but yeah, Noli is coming along. Noli's good. Noli is my favorite child at the moment. Which is why I really have to finish Halfling, because I'm like, Halfling has gone on way too long. Like, there is a point, guys, when you are painting, when you get near the end, you're going to feel this weird resistance. You're going to be like, I'm sick of this model. Maybe I should put it aside for a while. Don't do it. Finish it. It will be around forever. It's this weird human thing where when we get that, when you are closest to failing when you are near the end. And the longer you wait, the more resistance to finishing the project you're going to feel until it's brutal. So do not be me. Do not be me. When you feel that resistance, when you're very close to the end of a project, that's when you got to, like, just push through. You either got to say, no, I'm not going to finish it, or you got to push through. It's so rare for me, at least, to pick up a model again if I've put it down. So I'm liking this. I feel like maybe it is still a little bit too purple, but you know what? It works with this model, so I'm going to go with it. If I wanted to kill this purple, what I would do is I would take a very yellow color. I might even take my straight up leather brown, and I would put a glaze over the top. And that would mute the purple out so it's less purpley. So what I'm going to do is bring up all my highlights after I do this, and then I'm going to make my call. Yeah, exactly, Zen Bacon. Yeah, they're so close to the end, but there's just something that hits you when you're really close to the end of a project. And maybe it's just some weird sort of subconscious fear of failing, because if you finish it and it's not as good as you wanted it to be, you know, it's like that. It's a letdown, right? And so we're always trying to spare ourselves that. Like, and our little subconscious minds are very tricksy about it. So when you feel that, it's not a sign to stop. It's a sign to keep going. finish it. And then when you do finish it, like inevitably, if I do that, if I push through and I get it done, I'll find that it only was like 2 hours more work, right? And it's done. And now I can move on to something else and like not have a half, you know, or a 3/4 or 90% done model sitting around. So yeah, it's worth it. It's worth it to just push. And it's not that much of a push once you start it. Okay, so my shading color needs a little extra. I am a little bit haphazard here. Splooshing paint all over the place here. Water. Not that it matters if I get water on my colored construction paper, as I have, you know, a whole pack of it sitting away. Good morning, Daffodil Weir. Oh, I sang the double subversary song for somebody earlier. You're so close. Yeah, Bill, I was there. I was all around. I was being mobbed by people, judging competitions, teaching classes, you know, up on the stage during the award ceremony, losing my place in my notes at the award ceremony. That's always a danger, and that's why actually I need to bring a stapler next time. Usually they staple those for me, and that helps. Then I don't lose anybody in the middle of the thing. But when you're trying to get the stuff you've done out of the way while you're getting ready to call the next section, it's very difficult. I needed Debbie to save me. So yeah, stapling is a must next year, I think. I'm just not coordinated enough to juggle all those sheets because there are a lot of them. So I'm just going to shade almost this entire side of the face because it's almost all going to be in shadow except for the brow ridge here probably. There's her eye. And I do want to take my purple and fill in any cracks that Julie has sculpted here on the face that are stone. So any crack I want to really accentuate, I need to do. You could, of course, always do a wash also to pick out those small details like this. And it won't be like as dark as you'd like it because washes always dry lighter, but it gives you a starting point. And then you can go back and fill in. I haven't heard any rumor about next year's theme, no. Valendar, it usually the differentiation, and remember though, there's different judging teams. We all take a turn around the room to get a kind of an idea of the overall quality of the show. But different judging teams will still have slight differences in the way they judge. Oh, John saw a teaser image. So yeah, some of it is workmanship because that does count in painters. Other things that can really ding you is like difficulty. Like some models are very simple and there isn't a lot to judge on them. So if you don't knock those out of the park and really ace it, you might end up actually with a lower score because you didn't do as much. But that's rare. I mean, it's like I'm more likely to put that down to the differences between judging teams, Valendar. Because different judging teams still will be a little bit different from each other. We all have kind of the general concept of what constitutes a bronze. The difference between a bronze and a silver is usually execution of like blending and highlighting. Like a certificate is usually not going to have very much highlighting and shading at all. Or it's going to be very messy. Like if we see another thing that can push it, Valendar, is like stuff you may not have noticed. Is when paint is like if you were painting a bracer and an arm and the arm paint has crept onto the bracer or vice versa, where it hasn't been cleaned up. Stuff like that, messiness, lack of attention to detail can get you. But yeah, lack of gap filling or a big mold line. Usually a mold line isn't going to drop you a medal though, unless it's a big one. If it's a big mold line, it can absolutely drop you a medal. So now we can see that this is starting to look actually a little bit natural now. See the detail now? See the face? The sculpted the ruined statue that he's crouching on. Untamed Painter, the only way not to blend, it's not even blending, it's highlighting and shading. Like, you could paint comic book. Like, you could paint, a couple of the models actually were painted in comic book style, where it was flat and just block shaded and then cross-hatching, like black lining and cross-hatching. That's absolute, we will grade that according to the level of skill. But if you just, like, block in stuff and you don't have like a scheme or you don't have like a reason to be doing it, and if your model isn't executed, like, you could do it, but you'd have to execute it really well. Like, if you just painted it in layers, but you did layer it and the whole model is done consistently, I would probably grade you up. I might not get you a gold, but I'm going to grade you up. So yeah, cell shading, I don't knock that down. I actually give it the benefit of the style. Although I did have feedback for some of those people doing the cell shading in the comic book, because, like, there's a height that you can bring that to. And it pays to study comic art to see how high you can really push that, because you can push it to a very high level. Yeah, if you do sketch well and the whole model is done in sketch and the texture is suitable and it's consistent and it's very well executed, sure. We all know what it looks like. So, but remember, we're going to be judging you against how well you can do. Like, the top that you could have done. So we're going to be judging you against, like, well, what's the best sketch style that we've seen? Probably Matt DiPietro, right? He doesn't do smooth blends. He does textures and underpainting and sketch style. And he does it to an extremely high level. So if you want a gold using sketch style, you got to paint like Matt. Or you got to paint like you, but at that level. But we're not going to ding you on style. Like, that's something we as artists on the Reaper judging staff, we talk about this stuff. And if you are trying a different style, we're not going to grade you down just because you're not doing the standard mini painting style. Like, we want to see more avant-garde. We want to see more interesting stuff. So at that point, enough of us, remember, a lot of us are 2D artists, like Rhonda and me. We both do 2D art as well. And we study, like, oil paintings and different styles through history and all that. So if you are trying to push the envelope, we love it. We see it. We want it, you know? More contrast, yeah. Yes. Yeah, but even with chibis, remember, even chibis have details, right? Even chibis have a level of complexity. Hey, wait, I can talk about this because I have examples right here because I haven't put my chibis away. One sec. So let me show you what I mean. I can actually show you, like, really, really well what I mean here. This is a fun show. We should do this more often. Come back from the con with all this crap. So, all right, so let's take it. I won't even have to get her out because she actually shows up better here. So this is Crystal with her cute little adorable chibi unicorn. I love her. She's wonderful. But notice how simple she is. She's got her face, she's got her hair, and her dress is pretty much one piece, just a couple belts. Like, she is a super easy chibi model, right? So to get a gold with Crystal, you would need to really, really paint her cool. Like, you would, all of the each little section must be done really, really well. So that's the person who's saying chibis can be done to a very high level, right? But when that other person is saying, hey, I want, you know, something, let's see, this one's, I think the pirate has the most detail. I want more, you should paint something with more different surfaces. Then we're going to be talking more like Pirate Girl. Here, let me get her out and show you. So it's if you wanted to paint chibis, for example, and you wanted to get a gold. So Pirate Girl has, you know, belt buckles, and she's got a little bodice, and she's got armor, she's got epaulettes, she's got a little scabbard, she's got boots, she's got a gun, she's got a hat there, she got a feather, she has little, like, detail, sculpted border on her hat, and details there. So, and she's got a little, like, horn here, or, yeah, a little drinking horn, and she's got enough room to do freehand. So do you see what I mean? The difference between these two models, they're both chibis. They're both from the same manufacturer. but one has a lot more potential as far as showing what you can do with different areas. Then I expect really good highlighting and shading on those metallics, Olfen. I expect really high level. Like, give me dark shadows, give me high highlights, give me a lot of contrast on those metallics. Do a couple different color metallics. Let me see some chipping, some, you know, maybe some verdigris or some weathering on those metallics. You can absolutely score gold with metallics. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. But I want to see it. Bring it. There's always, like, you can take any technique and you can do it simply and effectively, or you can try to push it to the next level. And simple and effective can still win you a gold if you do it really well. But some judges, like, often when if you guys paint a really simple model, we really, like, we would love to see more, because we'd want to see, like, just more examples of what you can do. Like, when you're doing a competition, you're kind of showing the judges, hey, this is what I can do. So if you choose a model that's like all skin with just a little cloth, like say a dancing girl, then your skin better be amazing. Like, because that's what you're trying to show the judge. If you choose that model, you're trying to show them how well you can do skin and a little bit of cloth and maybe hair. And so since you're trying to show them that, you know, you better show us that you can do it really, really well. Right, exactly. Exactly, Valandar. For Crystal, you'd want to do, like, a pretty freehand on her dress. Even then, though, she's just so simple. Like, I need to knock Crystal out of the park as a painter to really make her look amazing. She's just a very simple model. Simple's not bad, but... Well, there you go, Bill. Yeah, like... If you started it yesterday, hold on, let me find, I have a thing. There, okay, so this is another example of a very simple chibi. This is Bombshell. Is the kitty with the wizard hat and the sphere. Is adorable. Bill, what that is for you is a sign that we want to see even better from you next year. If you started that yesterday and you scored a bronze, if you apply yourself even a little, you're probably going to be silver. So you should aim for that next year. The competition is to encourage you, right? To encourage you to do stuff. So this is a very, very simple mini, right? There's fur, a sphere, eyes, and a hat. So to get a really high score with this model, I need to do some really cool fur texture and probably some interesting animal patterns. Like, I need to pick a cat that's not just white, for example, or not just black. I probably maybe even want to do a lighting effect with the orb, or paint the orb like a gemstone, do something cool with it. And I want to make sure those eyes are really expressive. And maybe I want to do some textures, or maybe I even want to make a striped hat. You know, something cool that really brings this model to life. So that's kind of my examples on... Yeah, that's the danger, right? Friendly neutral. I got more ambitious too, because you know what? If I had done that halfling the way I was going to do that halfling, I would have had an entry. But... I want to do the freehand, so the freehand takes time. So anyway, that's kind of my explanation. So, I mean, and it's absolutely possible that two judges one of them wants to see you to do a more detailed miniature, and one of them is cool with you doing a simple miniature. That is a personal preference. You are right on that. There is always a little bit of personal bias in judging. It's impossible to get away from it. But we're not going to grade you down on it. That's just us saying, hey, next year I'd like to see you do a little more. Like Ruben's Siren is a great, if I can single you out, Ruben. Rubigon. Ruben's Siren is a great example. It's a fantastic little piece. It's pretty much flawless, but it's only skin and hair. So everybody was like, wow, he did a great job here. I want to see him do more, because now we're excited. You can do it. We want to see you do bigger, better, awesome, more, right? We want to see what you can really bring. How do you do cloth, right? How would you do armor? So now we want to see more from you. But it didn't cause us to grade the model down, right? We had to judge what was there, and what was there was very good. So Also keep in mind that the MSP Open, guys, is like the most encouraging of miniature competitions. And actually this is true for a lot of the historical open system stuff like Atlanta and Chicago. But the philosophy behind the open system is encouragement in the hobby. So if we are looking at your model and we are really on the line over whether it's a bronze or a silver, or whether it's a certificate or a bronze, chances are we are going to give you the benefit of the doubt. Like that's kind of that's the whole spirit of the competition. We want to encourage you. We might give you a low bronze. You might score 221 instead of 222. Or you might, score 332 instead of 333 or 334 even. There are definitely grades on each medal curve. And that's why you always want to ask about your scores, because that gives you an idea. But we're going to give you, we are trying to encourage you to learn and get better. And also, we never ever want to ding you for a model that you worked hard on. So we are not the judging. We are not the super, super hard judging. We are not. There are enough competitions that do that. And it tends to discourage people. So we would rather encourage you and give you constructive feedback. That's what ReaperCon is all about, is getting better at the hobby you love. Because we all, whether you're a gaming painter or you want to be, a competition level painter someday, we all want to paint models that make us happy, like that are really awesome looking and that make us happy. And so we are out there to teach you what you need to get to your goal level, whatever that goal level is. And that's why I love Reaper Master Series Open. Actually, Bill, if you contact Ed, I'm pretty sure he'd give you, it's also up on MMSI Chicago's website, but they're kind of lagged on having all their stuff up to date. So ed@reapermini.com. And you could even go MSP Open question, or actually, what would I say? Open system judging questions. Maybe title it that. Or want to start open system competition. Put something in the subject line, though, that lets him know you're not just complaining about the grade you got at the MSP Open. Or want to start up open competition. What do I do? Something like that. Because Ed gets tons of emails. Tons! And so you want to make sure your subject line says, what you want. And if he doesn't get back to you, email me at painting.big1, number 1, at Gmail. Painting.big1, number 1, at gmail.com. And I can forward it to him with appropriate, I can get it there. I don't think I've got the forms, but there is actually a judging sheet. The judging sheet they used at Chicago, because that's Shepard Payne at Chicago. He's a famous historical painter. Started the open system long, long, long ago, and so we used his system and adapted it slightly. Yeah, you got it. Painting.big1 at Gmail. You got it. The biggest thing about open system is you've got to figure out how you can do the medals. And so that's the biggest cost associated with open system, is getting little medals made of some sort, little awards, right? Depending on how big your competition is, it can be cheap or it can be expensive. You could use little acrylic discs maybe instead of actual metal medals, but so be creative. But it depends on how big the competition you anticipate, and if you're just running it at your store, or if you're just, or running it at a bigger place, and so on. Silver to gold is all about perfecting your flaws. So bronze to silver is about kind of getting better, just like getting generally better at things, like popping your contrast. Whatever style you're using, you still need to have good contrast and good execution. The difference between a bronze and a silver tends to be kind of blending or transitions or sharpness, attention to detail, all that kind of thing comes in. And then getting from silver to gold is really refining like the things that you're still not that great at. If the judges say you need to work on your skin, or this cloth is a good start, but you need to get a bit finer with it, or it didn't quite read right, or this lighting effect is a bit questionable and didn't work because of this, right? This is why the feedback is so important. And if you missed judges' feedback, then post on, like if you're on a Patreon Discord like mine, or if you're on the Reaper Discord even, anywhere that you can get some feedback, say, hey guys, I want to hit gold level painting. I want to win a gold in competition. Help me figure out how to make my skin better. Be specific about what you want, and then pay attention to the feedback. If the feedback is all over the place, then it's probably people's personal preference speaking. But if you consistently get a single piece of feedback from a few different people, then that's a flag to you that, that's the one, that's what I need to work on. And then set out to, like, maybe even choose a model to specifically work on that with. Even if you don't end up entering that particular model, you know, choose a model that lets you work on that. And then submit that for, like, feedback, right? What can really help you if you're trying to get to gold also, and if you have the cash, is coaching. So a lot of Patreons, like Aaron Lovejoy, I also do it. I'm thinking about opening up another couple coaching slots. We'll do coaching, and we will, if you tell us, I want to get to gold, that's what I want to do. We'll help you pick a model. You know, if you give us a selection, we'll say that one's probably the best one to try things on. And then we'll work with you, you know, every month or whatever on the PDF or on the whatever type of coaching it is to try to help you hit your goals and get better and better at the, you know, at the kind of the, just to the top level. So I don't think that coaching can help you if you really are kind of not sure, if you're even at the, like, a beginner level. But I think that where coaching really shines is, like, getting you from bronze to silver and silver to gold. And a lot of us painters who actually make our living from our Patreons, we have coaching tiers, and we are happy to do it, so. It was on Sunday, Everlina. We usually do it after the competition in the room, but then everybody's packed really close together, and with COVID, we just didn't want to do that this year. We felt that that didn't send the right message. So we did it on Sunday. You could go to Debbie that night and actually get your judges, or you could have done it on Sunday, and then just find us. Most of us were hanging around at our tables doing nothing more than giving feedback. I know I was pretty slammed with people when I was there. I announced it at the awards ceremony at the beginning. Is that we're making that change. So I'm going to just come back in with over the areas where I did a wash, I have to come back in with my mid-tone to bring them back up. You can enter another completely new painted version of the same model. Absolutely, Daffodwear. But you can't enter the same model as in the one you painted before, just touched up, but you can paint a new version. That said, be wary of that. And the reason I say that is because I personally, and a lot of people probably disagree with me on this, a lot of painters do, but I feel that there's only so much you can learn from a given model. And that once you have really tried on a given model, you should move on to a different project. And if you feel like, well, I feel like I should paint this mermaid again because I could do the skin better, I would just pick a different model entirely with different opportunities, but that still had good skin, and do that. I've found it in my own career very difficult to learn on the second pass through on the same model. So I've gotten more mileage out of doing it the other way. So this is the thing with washes, and this is why I tell beginning painters, if you don't like washes, if you do washes and you don't like the effects, don't do washes. Just apply your shading like I did down here. Because when you put a wash over something, it's going to darken the entire area, it's going to color the whole area, and then you have to come back over it and spend time covering up parts that you don't want your wash on. Because doing a purple wash over this entire area to pick up these cracks also resulted in that whole area turning purple. So now I have to do more work. So there was a point where I was like, you know what? Washes are really not saving me work. They're actually making more work for me. And I stopped doing them. So don't believe that you must do washes. If it doesn't seem to work for you, don't feel like it's a technique you must use. Yeah. Yeah, Hyper Bunny. That is the problem. Like, Sunday morning classes are problematic with that. Because Reaper starts packing up, and so we're encouraged to pack up pretty fast. That said, almost all the judges are still around. And if you ask them if they're, if they have time to take a look at your model, then that's great. It's not like ideal either way, but try to get as many people as you can to look at your stuff. And honestly, as Michael said, and I mentioned this also at the ceremony, if it's not the person who actually judged your figure, just come up, tell them what you were graded, and ask, why do you think, I was given this, and they will tell you. I always, I kind of form an idea in my head of what level I think the person got awarded, and most of the time I was right. Which says to me that the judging this year was actually pretty consistent. Yeah, no problem. It was nice for you. Great to have you on the stream, and let us all have a great day. Yeah, I mean, winning a top award is not time to stop if you really want to be a great painter. Even me, like, I am still, with all the stuff I have won over the years, I'm still pushing myself to try new things and to get better at the things that I'm good at. I find that, and this is true in writing and in painting, so I'm sure it's also true in things like music and other applications, that when you think you're good, you're actually just not knowledgeable enough to understand how you can still improve. I have found this. So if I give it some time, I will start to realize, oh, I'm not actually as good at this as so-and-so, or, oh, I could still, like, learn to improve this because I'm not quite getting the effect I want here. So there's always something. I mean, they always say this in pretty much everything, but be a lifelong learner. I find that that's the way, that's really the key for me to be happy, is to always be trying to get, a little bit better, whether it's at cooking or painting or writing or whatever, anything else I do. It brings me a lot of happy to learn something new and apply it. That's why I'm on chibis now. I'm like, all right, I'm going to get to be a really good chibi painter. Yeah, I hate the word fail because I think that there's a lot of negativity negative, attached to the word fail. But yeah, you won't, like, you won't be quite as happy, right? You're kind of like, like, it looks okay, but maybe it could look better. I don't think any effort is really a fail, because as long as you learn from it. And we learn the most when we don't get the results that we absolutely want, right? Well, right, Bill. That's why I've got four chibis. And I've done the one on the stream here as well, so I have some experience now with the chibis. And I looked at our top level chibis at the show. Drew Olds is known as a chibi painter, a very good one. But I think I want to bring some of, and that's the cool thing when you get to a certain level of painting, is not, trying to paint like the other great chibi painters, but asking yourself, what can I bring to this specifically that other painters maybe aren't doing, but that I think would work really well? So for me, it's a question of not how can I paint a chibi like Drew, but how can I paint a chibi and have it look like Anne, right? Have it be me, have it be my style, and have it be something I'm super happy with. Like, I don't like the really high cartoon eyes, so I think I want to actually do like a bit more realistic eyes, just like still like like not hyper realistic or anything, but a little bit not as block cartoon. I want a little bit more detail. Yeah, it's a victory in progress. Julie's got it right, and she should know. Yeah, I don't like the word fail because then people kind of cringe and go, oh no, I don't want to fail. It's more like It's just learning. It's the way we learn. You can't learn anything if you don't try and, you know, not exactly succeed the first time. Actually, the grit book actually was just talking about this, is that when we're really young, when we're like toddlers up to the age of 4, as kids, we have no problem trying things and not doing them, right? And failing. Like, failing is not a negative thing for us. We learn from it, right? We just move on. But around 5, our social skills develop enough, and we're getting old enough that we experience fail as a negative. Like, teachers and such tend to frown when we fail. You know, maybe they say, oh, you did it wrong. Stuff like that. And then that sticks in our head as, like, fail is, oh no, I need to not fail because it makes me feel bad. So that's why I've been trying to move away from that word and that concept for myself too, right? I don't want to, like, look at a model and go, crap, I really screwed that up, I'm such a dork, right? That's just not constructive at all. That will not make me a better painter. Yeah, the only way to fail is to stop swimming, right? It's the shark. Yeah, the chibi. Yeah. Succeeding at a slower pace. Oh, that was Bob. Cheers. Cred to Bob. He's right. Bob also having tons of experience. Oh, yeah. So there's 2 color. The Betty Edwards is the 1 color book that I like. And she has a bunch of exercises just will get you to play with color. The other great color book is actually Color and Light by James Gurney, who did the Dinotopia books. And James is fantastic. There, now we got that face coming out here. And I'm going to call this one done. Like, I'll finish the back of the base, I think, on my own. But we are getting to the end of the stream. Right, exactly, Hyper, right? And failing grade is always like a terrible, like, kind of humiliation kind of thing, right? And then you might even get held back a year, you know. Like, it's just, I don't know. There's a lot of negativity, and the stakes are pretty high in your school years, right? If you really screw up. But when you're doing stuff you enjoy, you want feedback, but you don't want to judge yourself. Like, judgment is what screws up the learning process. So, like, getting feedback on how you could be better is really valuable. But judging yourself as not good enough is not valuable and can keep you from trying again. And so try to always be gentle with yourself. There are plenty of people, the world is going to hit you in the face. And you do not need to be helping it hit you in the face. You know. There we go. So that's looking really nice, I think. See how that comes out. Let's back out and kind of, there's still parts I'm refining, but there. Wyvern. Actually, I like how the rock pile came out. I like the colors. The colors are harmonizing with Mr. Wyvern. Like the purple, I managed to bring down enough that it works. So I think this one is going to go to Ron in the end. Don't judge yourself, Nomad Zeke. Unjudge. Hashtag unjudge. Some of you saw me wearing my shirt at the con. Unjudge. The Ogre. Ogre is next, Daffodil. People wanted some humanoid monsters. So I had people vote, and we're going to do this guy's Big Chunk by Bobby Jackson, one of the newer ogres. So we've got some chainmail that we can choose to do in NMM, because I get a lot of questions on NMM chainmail. We've got some wood. We could do it like really weathered wood. There's a bunch of stuff. So we'll have to take this guy out. I'll examine him. I'll clean up his problems, his mold lines, and then I'll prime him. Maybe I'll Zenith prime this one. And we'll do... we'll do Zenith Prime and all sorts of fun stuff. Oh my god, they didn't know about the book. Valandar, that's funny. That happens, though. I mean, absolutely it does, especially in today's age. But yeah, so what we did today, man, we talked about so much. We talked about the Master Series Open and ReaperCon, and in the middle of it all, we talked about mixing some colors and like using colors that are on the model on the base so that it looks like the model belongs on its base, like they go together. And we did some stone. We talked about washes and the downside of them. We talked about highlighting with complementary colors and how it can mute out. If you do like mixes with complementaries, it can mute out the color. Yeah, I mean, NMM chainmail, but conversely, Sib, NMM chainmail does not teach you much about NMM. Like, making it look right is easy, but it also doesn't really teach you how to do metal on flat surfaces, if that makes sense. Yeah, he was out in Bones, so I ended up buying the metal version instead for the stream. But that's fine. He'll just be a chonk. But yeah, so Wyvern is going to go to Ron next year. Wyvern's like, oh, I missed ReaperCon by 1 week. But yeah, so we'll switch to Ogre. And then tomorrow is our half-orc wizard, who we're also almost done with. And the one we're adding on after that is this guy. I wanted to paint Vitanis for a while, and in Bones Black, all the details really pretty crisp. So we're gonna do him next. So we'll do it. We were doing a half orc. We'll replace it with a tiefling, and yeah, we'll replace our wyvern with an ogre. And yeah, so I'll see you guys tomorrow for finishing up the base on the half orc, and here she is. So we need to finish up the base on Ms. Half-Orc, and then we need to, might even start Vitanis, depending on how much I do. I think I've got a lot of glow effect to do here, though. I've still got a lot of pentagram and little symbols to edge in with her circle. So I probably won't get to start the new model tomorrow. Probably will finish her up. So yeah, there we go. I hope you guys had fun. I hope you like how Wyvern turned out. Yeah, and obviously my Patreon is patreon.com/paintingbig. You can also find this show, among other many valuable shows, on the Reaper Miniatures Twitch channel and on the YouTube. So Twitch will have VODs going back about a month, and then on the YouTube, all of our shows get ported over YouTube eventually. So if you really want to see how I started Mr. Wyvern, go over to the YouTube and search for him. And his number, to make it easier, is 77688. He should also say Wyvern on his, he should be searchable by Wyvern, but he's there. Justin always uses the SKUs too. So there we go. Do we have a raid Reaper? I don't see a Reaper raid yet. I don't want to end before the Reaper raid is queued up. I'm going to put this guy back here. So many things and stuff to sort out after the con. Like, I'm like only slightly unpacked. Yes, just don't use your SKUs in your MSP entry title. That was pretty funny. I hope that person didn't feel bad. I didn't mean for you to feel bad. I was just like, oh my god. If I had to do this for every entry, we would be here all night. Yeah, somebody put the SKU in their entry title. It was like, you know, Bill the Wizard, SKU, Reaper SKU, number, Bones Black, blah, 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 blah. It was really long, and it took a while to read, and then I was like, oh my gosh. But yes, I hope you guys had fun. Here, let me text Justin. Text the Justin. Need raid. Happy face. Yeah, thanks guys. You can hang out and chat while I figure out if we're gonna raid somebody here. And I think I'll grab John, are you there? If you're there, John, please give us a raid. Sammy's and Brush are both. No, disembodied hands, Justin. I just texted John, too. You know, it is what it is. Justin's getting new floors in his house, I think, so he's, like, gonna be, you know, erratic. But John was in here earlier, so There we go. Woo! Marine mammal rescue. Apparently we're going to watch otters. Yes! All right, everybody, have a fantastic day, and I will see you back tomorrow. Laters.